If you don't follow a madhab, and I'm not saying that you should, but if you don't follow a madhab, what do you know to do? They say, well, we're going to take from where Imam Hanafi took from. He took from the Quran and Sunnah. Or I'm going to take where he was correct and leave where he was not correct. How do you know if you don't have any knowledge? How do you know that you're going to take from where he took and not take from where? Well, I'm going to follow the Quran and the Hadith. Who told you that that Hadith means this type of thing and that other type of thing? Because there's a statement in Usul al-Hadith, knowledge precedes words and deeds. We know that part. But the statement is, and follow me, the Hadith lead people astray except for the people of Hadith, except for the fuqaha, except for the people who have the skill and know how to extract a ruling from the Hadith. So what the people are actually doing, they're making taqleed. We hear this term, taqleed. Taqleed is blind following. So blind following who? You're blind following whoever told you that this was the proper understanding or that was the proper understanding. No, we're following the hadith. No, you're not following the hadith because you don't know what the hadith means unless someone tells you. So there's a level of taqleed in everyone's actions until you get to the level of having certain type of knowledge. You're going to follow your teachers. Again, but until you have a teacher, unless you can sit with a sheikh and go through each one of the issues of fiqh every day, then the issue of fiqh still goes unresolved. Because then you don't know what you're supposed to do in your everyday life. We're not talking about how to pray. We're not talking about how to make wudu. Because as we stated from the beginning, these are the beginner issues that most people have some type of understanding of fiqh about. We're talking about buying and selling. We're talking about marriage contracts. We're talking about renting an apartment. There's a fiqh to it. And there are rules to it. About buying food. About oaths. All these things have particular fiqh. About using pots. There's a fiqh to these things that is basic. I want to make a point first. 70% of all fiqh is agreed upon. Okay, 70% of all fiqh, these four guys of the classic fiqh, they agreed in 70% of their rulings. That leaves 30% of disagreement. In that 30%, we have the teachings of Imam Albani, rahimahullah, Sheikh Muqbil, Sheikh bin Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen. And I'm just mentioning these were like the big four. Most people know these people's name. You could say Hamad al-Ansari up there. You could put his name up there. You know, Umar al-Falata, you could put his name up there. You could put a few other people's names up there. But let's just leave these big four that people really know about. In their modern writing, these are modern scholars that just passed away recently, they attacked and dealt with some of this 30%. And they came up and agreed in a percentage. I don't know, I'm not going to make up a percentage. But there's a portion of this 30% that was dealt with and that we can find the correct understanding based on what these scholars have told us. And we're going to still be making a sense of taqleed. We're still going to be following them without fully knowing because we're not scholars to know if they were right or wrong. But we can guess based on what we see from them and how we trust them. So there's a level of taqleed in that. Following these people of the Sunnah. And this is what I want people to understand. And don't worry about what nobody says. To hell with them. Literally. Your relationship with Allah is between you and your Lord. The thing you have to do is find the best way to understand what Allah wants you to do. That's fiqh. That's understanding what was intended. Okay? So, there's that level of taqleed. When a person is said, this person is Hanafi. When a person says this person is Maliki, what does that mean, for example? That means if he is Salafi, meaning that he's following the understanding of the people of the past, the righteous predecessors of the past, and he's trying his best to find and derive the rulings that they find in the hadith based on what the scholars are saying. So he's reading the hadith, but he's making that level of taqleed on the understanding of that hadith. and how to practice that hadith, when he becomes a Hanafi, that means in that 30% that there is disagreement upon, he is Maliki or Hanafi or Hanbali. For example, let's take Sheikh bin Baz and Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, for example. In the Hanbali madhab, Imam Hanbali, he said when you raise up from the salah, first let's talk about, in the salah, there's an issue. The issue is when you're in ruku' and you come up, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, do you put your hands on your chest or do you let your hands go down? Let me do it again. In the ruku', when you rise up, it's agreed upon that you raise your hands. Then it's disagreed upon, do I put my hands down or do I put my hands on my chest? Bin Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahumullah, they grew up in a country that is Hanbali. Okay? So you find in their rulings, when there's ikhtilaf, an inclination to things that Imam Hanbali said. Okay? Not saying that they're not shuyukh, but you would note, someone being honest would note that their rulings in those things that are ikhtilaf, and this would only happen if you know that it's an issue of ikhtilaf. And then the second, that you know that this is the ruling in the Hanbali fiqh. That when they say rise up from the ruku, they say put your right hand over your left hand and put your hands on your chest. However, I don't know what Sheikh Muqbil says, but you find Sheikh Al-Albani saying when you rise up from the salah, you raise your hands, from the ruku', you raise your hands and you put your hands on your side. That corresponds with the Hanafi madhab. Why do I say Hanafi and not Maliki? Because it corresponds with the Maliki also. But Imam Al-Albani comes from an area that's traditionally Hanafi. So you see in the issues of the ikhtilaf, a mail, they call it in the books, and this is not my statement, you find this in the statements of the people of the past. Innahu Salafi yamilu ila Malikiyya. He's Salafi, but he inclines towards the Maliki fiqh. He's Salafi, walakinnahu he yamilu, he inclines to the Hanafi fiqh. This is nothing new. This means that when those issues of ikhtilaf come, that person inclines to the way he was raised. Let's back up. What do you mean the way he was raised? How does a person from Indo-Pakistan, from Africa, Malaysia, or any of the Arabian countries grow up learning fiqh? It goes like this. In the Muslim-dominated countries, Muslim-dominated country, inside that country, you will find that that country is traditionally, let's say, for example, Mauritania. Mauritania is traditionally, all of West Africa actually, is traditionally Maliki. You can go from Al-Maghrib all the way down to whatever country you want to go to. Let's say Guinea. Let's go all the way down to Guinea or Côte d'Ivoire. You go all the way down, you will find most of the people traditionally are Maliki. How did they grow up being Maliki? Because the shuyukh, the teachers there, teach in the masjid. Not the shuyukh only, the teachers from the lowest level and the greatest level, they're teaching the Maliki madhab. So that child, when he grows up, he sees, no one had to tell him, when he saw the people offering salah, they put their hands at their side. So they started to raise up, putting their hands at their side. They come to America, they raise up and they put their hand to the side. Someone says that's an African thing because they notice all the Africans doing that. And then they might see some Africans doing like this. Why? He probably went to Saudi and graduated Mutakharij and became Hanbali, and learned from him and saw his teachers, or didn't even become Hanbali. Noticed from his teachers that they used to do like this, so he started to imitate his teachers, taqleed. And then afterwards, some of them would ask and learn and study the issue and find that Imam Hanbal said, what his son said actually, he said, my father used to say when you rise up from the ruku, you can put your hands at your side and put your hands on your chest. He agreed to have both of them because it was an issue of ikhtilaf. My only point here is that in these countries, when it's Muslim, they started learning Maliki madhab, that's what those people became on. Okay? And when there was another country where they were Hanbali, that's what those people mostly showed and learned. And then after they became older, when they started to study, then their study took them, inshallah, to the hudud of the Salafiyah. Okay? But in those issues where there was ikhtilaf, where there was difference of opinion, where they could not find the right or the wrong of the issue, then what do you fall back on? You fall back on that thing which you know best.